What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. So we're gonna jump right in with the V1000 update details and take a look at what we have in store. So first off the bat, let's address what they have written here. Basically, we've got Sentry merging with the Void to become a new T4 hero. We've got Thor and Hulk, each with new uniforms, and we get the introduction of a Avengers team up collection. And then we get AntiMan, who's going to basically get a tier 3 advancement and a new uniform. Then we get the Warriors 3, who are getting Transcendence but no uniforms, and then some improvements to PvP content and Alliance battle re-challenges. So a very light update for the majority of casual players, in my opinion. But let's jump in. Let's take a look. So first off, the main course on the menu is Sentry. After I don't know how long waiting, I don't know what the hell the development timeline cycle looks like for the Netmarble team, even after having the Marvel Games person that we had on the previous live stream, is because why we've basically waited so long to get a Sentry tier 3, just it absolutely makes no sense to me, and is more frustrating than anything, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, it's one of those points of, like, you introduce this as a native tier 3 hero and it took you this long to get around back to coming for this character that we all pay this price basically to get, and then they get no love. So gotta come back to these characters, man. Gotta come back. So all right, let's start off with Sentry. So to my surprisal, he is going to still remain a universal superhero. I do not recall this being the case from the comics. I mean, he was acting in regards to a superhero, but he wasn't a superhero nonetheless. I don't know. That's what it is. So he's going to be a universal superhero. His uniform effects, he is going to have an increased additional pierce damage by 5%. And that's going to be excluding bosses. He's going to ignore enemies' damage, decreased by 15%. So with the uniform alone, you can already see that this is really leaning into a PvP type character from there. So that only gets more apparent when you look at his leadership, which is going to be Shining Hero. He keeps the increase all basic attacks for 30%, and he removes all debuffs for 12 seconds. Everything pretty much stays the same. No big change there. It applies to all allies. I don't know why it got rewritten differently, but it is. I guess I don't know, man. I have no clue why they wrote it like this. So I guess maybe the way it was written before, it was like this way. It was activation when debuffed. That's when you were getting the increase all basic attacks. So they split them out now. So that way you're getting all basic attacks but 30%, and this is just to remove all debuffs. So there you have it. Anyway, so then we get his Scorching Courage passive, which basically remains the same as well. There's a minor 5% increase to his basic damage received. Kind of like, what the hell? Like a 5% increase on a uniform on a character who is this old just makes no sense. But let's take a look at some of the other skills. So Void Blast is now his new #1 skill, replacing the skill here. So this enables attacking enemies who the ignore targeting effect is basically moved to his second skill. So on this skill, he keeps the burn, he keeps the stun, and then the energy damage is reduced actually from 135 to 85%. And then the additional damage done is also reduced from 1334 energy damage to 168. Cooldown time has been increased as well on his first skill to 1 to 8 seconds. So do that with as you may. So his 2 skill is where he keeps the he gets the enabled targeting all targeting effect. Basically is going to be on this skill. That accumulation is removed and moved to his 3rd skill. So let's take a look at the rest of the stuff that he has on here. So he gets rid of the burn, he gets bleed, decreased recovery rate, that removes active buff from a target, fracture, and paralysis. So all like type PvP type things that you're gonna want to see. Then he also gets the recovery of 20% HP, and he gets an 80% chance to penetrate with super armor, barrier shield, And then the remove all debuffs for 2 seconds, 100% chance to grant all damage immunity is basically still on the skill. And an additional 403, he gets the energy damage 70% of energy attack instead of the 94. So a little bit of a nerf there. You have to see how that skill plays out because there's a lot of change basically to that 2 skill. His third skill, Golden Advance. Like I said, the accumulation is basically moved to this skill, 1% increase over here. A little bit of a nerf with the energy damage, basically being 50% in 125 and an additional 403 instead of 191. He keeps the incapacitation for 3 seconds, and he gains stun and paralysis on this skill. When we look at Energy Quake, we get applies to enemies, right? So a lot's been changed there. No longer the burn and no longer the decrease because that's been moved to another skill. So we get stun and we get silence, and then applies to himself. He loses the frenzy buff that he has here for 55 and 50, and he basically gets increased energy attack plus 25, 25% barrier for 15 times, and then energy damage is 130 instead of the 90, and the additional energy damage is 403 instead of the 112. I'm not sure exactly why they would remove that frenzy buff from that 4th skill, but maybe it's something the way the kit works. I think most people would probably prefer that frenzy buff than to just increase energy attack by 25%. I don't know. I mean, it lasts for 6 seconds, so I guess it's a good thing in some ways because you're rolling a 3, 4, 5 more than likely to basically roll that attack. But maybe they removed the buff to his 5th skill. I think that's probably what happened here. So the 5th skill, Void Awakens, is replacing Solar Explosions. So the paralysis is sticking around for 3 seconds now. And then we gain a litany of other skills. We get Bleed, we get decreases recovery rate by 50%, we gain Fear, and then we get to decrease all basic defenses by 50%, which ignores immunity. He has a recovery on here for 40% of his HP, and then he increases all basic attack by 55 and 50. So you can see it was moved from the 4th skill to the 5th skill, exactly what I thought it was. Then the energy damage has a little bit of a nerf here because a little bit has halved. Energy damage is now 80% of energy attack and additional 202. Essentially, what you're doing by doing this. This is why I really wish that there was some theory crafters inside the Marvel Future Fight community, so that way we can look at exactly what they're doing in terms of mitigating numbers inside of here. But essentially, by reducing the energy attack by 80% from the 160 and moving the frenzy buff to this skill, you're making up for the energy damage that was originally there with the 160 by giving that plus 50%, because it's essentially a half reduction of the energy attack. So it's like increase all basic attacks by 50. The numbers always seem to peer out where they're not like quite these kits look more like optimizations than they do increases in buffs, you know, like outright. Like, I mean, yeah. But again, with Marvel Future Fight, the thing that you always have to pay attention to is how things look on paper as well. So I don't know. I wasn't exactly ecstatic with Sentry's tier 4, to be perfectly honest. We've seen it already, and a lot of the tier 4 skills are just starting to look very copy paste to me. He gets a recovery of 15% HP, and then he gets the activation rate when he uses non-regular attacks. He increases all basic attack by 30% for a max of 60. So that's for 7 seconds. So a max of 60 though means that it's only 2 skills. So you're just rifling through 2 skills. That's basically it, and you're getting the max attack for that. So imagine some shenanigans where you basically do a 7-4-5 or 6 or something like that. Basically that's or a 7-6. You know, rotation through, and then you're getting the max attack there. I don't know, like, to be perfectly honest, I've been disappointed lately with the tier 4s because they belie the reason why you needed tier 4 in the game, or you really didn't need tier 4 in the game. So, you know, I think most people will be happy to see a golden boy basically receive his tier 4 regardless, and he should make an impact inside PvP, the PvP meta. So like I don't really see. Hopefully he's still good use inside PvE, but this looks like a PvP type character. So next up, we've got Hulk in the mix. Hulk is receiving an update as well. I think I'm happy to see that. I was really pissed with the nerf that they did to Hulk when he originally got this uniform. As I said before in previous videos, Still pretty pissed off about it, but you know, hey, it is what it is. I loved Hulk when he had that other, but he's getting some buffs. So he's got his uniform effect. He's gonna get that crit rate, the crit damage, and the increased chain hit damage. But he's receiving a buff to the critical rate increase by 30%. So that's a nice hefty buff inside of there for 20% crit rate inside there. Hopefully we're getting back to Hulk power levels, right? That's what I'm hoping for. I love World War Hulk. That's what I love. I want to see smash type Hulk. So no changes to his you know, to his tier 3 ultimately inside here. Even though they put it there, there's no changes. Still the same thing. His passive, we're gonna take a look at Hulk Roar. Excuse me, his leadership. Excuse me. Hulk Roar, instead of getting just to increase all basic attacks by 24%, Hulk becomes his own actual his own actual buff leadership character, because now he has a 30% increase of HP. A lot of other characters had like that 30% increase of HP as leaderships, and that's the reason why you would use them with Hulk, to put, you know, them in the lead, so that way Hulk benefited off the HP. Now Hulk is getting his own HP buff, so he's his own leadership, which means you can put other support characters in there to just support my man. And when you look at his kit, it's going to be evident that you're still building into HP for Hulk, right? So his first passive, Gamma Overload, excuse me. No real significant changes here at all. None, to be perfectly honest with you. His Enrage passive as well. Nothing really significant changes here at all either. Everything basically remains the same. Like, it is what it is, you know what I mean? And then we get into his skills. So let's take a look at his skills. So Earthquake Hammer, there was nothing on Earthquake Hammer before. There's still nothing on here, except now he gets Snare on that skill. His 2 skill has Stun, has the Silence. He removes all debuffs as well still. And then the physical damage, instead of being 60% of HP, is now going to be 65% of HP. This is why I'm saying you're still building into Hulk for HP. You want that HP really high, so equip as many HP Urus as you possibly can. Odin's Blessings, HPs to Hulk, so that way you can get his attack up there. His third skill, which was World Shatter, is now going to be Titanic Lava. Has the enable ignore targeting effect inside of here, so we get the burn, we get the snare, we get the incapacitation, and then we get 33% chance to penetrate all, and then we still get the 50% increase of max HP. The basic damage, the physical damage is going to be 36% instead of the 66%. So a little bit of a nerf there, I guess, depending on how you look at it. So when we look at Hulk, not a whole lot necessarily changing across the board. I mean, I don't like to see the physical damage basically decrease by 36 from, you know, 66% to 36%. That's literally a 30% decrease in overall right there. And, you know, you're not making up for it on the skill with anything else basically inside here. I mean, I don't know. I guess because you have the penetration on the skill, maybe. I don't know. Like, so you're making up basically with the 33% reduction or the 30% by having a 33% chance to penetrate. So that way more of the attack is getting through. So maybe that's what it is. I'm not exactly sure, to be perfectly honest. So Merciless Crush is now going to be called Gamma Volcano, because you can see essentially all that was done was that 33% chance to penetrate was basically moved to Titanic, to his third skill, and the enabled targeting was also moved there. So it's the reason why I have a problem with a lot of what's going on with the written stuff. The SFX team, the VFX team, like, they knock out the park every single update, and then when we get to like the shit on paper, it just kind of like falls apart, because you're like, I'm paying for I'm paying these crystal costs for these uniforms, which is just really optimization upgrades to characters. They're not really, I don't know, it's just kit optimization. You know, you're playing this in any type of normal game, like, you know, AAA title game, AA title game, and these are just like free, you know. So it starts to look more and more like that. I do respect that we are playing for the VFX realistically. I try to keep my head on a tilt about that so I can remain positive. But so his 4 skill, everything's removed, so he gets nothing. So all of that stuff was basically moved to his 3rd skill, and so all you see on his 4th skill is shock, silence, and that's it. He gets a physical damage of 30% of his HP, an additional 81, but there's nothing. I hope to God like he's going to be dealing out some serious damage on that 4th skill, but it looks like you're just basically rotating right past that 4th skill because who cares? There's nothing really on it. So cancel right out of that. So then we get Null's Wrath is going to be changed to Gamma Rage. He keeps the fracture, but is reduced to 3 seconds. He gets the incapacitation as well. He has the paralysis, gets the paralysis, which ignores no immunity. He keeps the 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, and then he gets an increased basic damage by 100% for just 1 attack. And then we get physical damage is going to be 50% of his HP instead of 55% of his HP. Like I said, complete kit optimizations and nothing really more. So I'm more excited about the look, I guess, and look to see what the VFX team has. But, you know, Hulk will always be a sore point for me just because we saw the glory that could have been, and then it was stripped from us. That's essentially what it was. Next up, we get Thor, who returns as the, you know, I guess this uniform is supposed to be like, it's supposed to be like the special kind of OG uniform for the Marvel Future Fight team. I know, like, I think I was watching like Cynic Alex basically pointed out that really the uniform is akin more to Rune King Thor. And after looking at the uniform, I was like, yeah, I guess that's true, because there are, you know, there are uniforms where this look is essentially Rune King Thor. So maybe like a take on Rune King Thor, I guess, is the better way to put it, than it is like it's an original uniform for him. But yeah, so we'll have to see what that looks like. So let's take a look at his uniform. And it's good that Thor is getting a uniform. I think it's a character that should always remain relevant, because he's always going to get eyes on the game for you, basically, because people are going to want to play Thor, jump in the game, play Thor. You know he's going to be chosen out of all the Avengers outside of Hulk. And, you know, you want players to feel like they're going to get a character that's at least, you know, serviceable for them. And to be honest with you, since Beta Ray Bill and Odin, you basically have 2 better lightning-based characters in the game. So Thor basically kind of falls off a little bit in regards there. So let's take a look at that uniform effect. Nothing really changing here too much. The increased skill damage by 30 and bonus damage by 30. And that's pretty much it. So everything else is remaining the same for there. So, all right, let's take a look at Thor's skills and get into this. So let's take a look. So first up, Protector of Asgard, no changes here. We keep the 65 and the 70. And then his passive, the Power Asgard, no changes here either, 35 and 25. Okay, so then we get into Thunder Slash, which is now going to be called Warhammer Slash. Still keeps the bleed for 40%, still keeps the stun for 3 seconds, and that's it. So the lightning damage on this has been increased from 100 to 120, and then additional damage is increased from 242 to 282. So like, when you talk about like meager updates, like this is what we're talking about, meager updates. So Mjolnir Rush, which was the V-pad skill, is essentially moved to the 3rd pad skill and is now just called Thunderbolt Charge. So what we have now is called Path of Mjolnir. He still keeps the shock on here. He still keeps the paralysis for 2 seconds, and that's it. So nothing really has changed on this skill. In fact, it's probably more of a nerf, because we get the lightning damage is decreased to 90. Lightning damage, my fault. The lightning damage is actually increased to 90%, and the additional damage is increased to 564. But essentially, Path of Mjolnir and Mjolnir Rush, like when you look at those skills, they're basically just hot swapped out. You know, basically it's the same static numbers. So then the 3rd skill is now basically becoming Path of Mjolnir, or the Mjolnir Rush, and it's got the V-pad Thunderbolt Charge or Mjolnir Rush on it. He gets the stun, which is now there for 3 seconds, and then he gets the decreased lightning resist, which is 50%, up to 50%, and it ignores immunity. He also keeps the barrier for 8 times for 8 seconds, and then the lightning damage is decreased because it's 50% of energy attack and additional 106 for lightning damage from the 564. So you just, yeah, man. Marvel Future Fight. So his 4th skill, Endless Lightning Strike, is now called Warhammer Dash. So we keep the bleed, we keep the shock, we get the decreased lightning resistance up to 55. We keep the paralysis, which ignores immunity. It's actually got a little bit of a nerf because it's down to 1 second. He keeps the recovery of 25% HP. He keeps the frenzy buff, 65, 1, and 35. Nothing has changed. Like, matter of fact, if you want to look at it, to be honest with you, it's been nerfed because the lightning damage is gone from 120 to 100% of energy attack, and the additional damage went from 1692 lightning damage down to 423 lightning damage. It's essentially the same goddamn thing. Like, copy paste much? Like, woo! So we get Wrath of the Thunder God is now called Thunder God's Punishment. He keeps the bleed, he keeps the shock, he keeps the silence, he keeps the invincible, he keeps the accumulation. Nothing has changed. We get the lightning damage is 100% of energy attack, and the additional damage is 282 of lightning damage. Listen, guys, I would highly suggest that you hold off on purchasing this uniform because it doesn't look like the upgrade that it needs to be. And a lot of this is going to be in the kit, basically to the VFX kit, to see like how many additional hits on skills there are. But if you just read that through with me, it's like, yeah, they talk about extreme optimizations there. I'll probably bring back to this because this will probably be the first video that I make because it's going to take some time to get Sentry. But this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm talking about when you talk about selling a kit where they've essentially changed nothing on this entire kit. Like, we basically got the change that happened up here for the 15 for the increased skill damage, and I guess everything is basically in that skill damage increase. And this is the problem that I have with the team up collection, which we're going to talk about here, because most of the power is going to come from the team up collection. So I said when they introduced the team up collections that what they were going to do is nerf the uniform kits because of the team up collection. So now that 10% additional pierce damage that they have in the kits are basically going to be reflected inside, not reflected in the uniform, and your basic it's dropped out. It's the reason why I hate artifacts. It's the reason why I hate the team up collection, is because all of the things that should have just been baked into the character are now been parceled out someplace else for you to basically purchase. That's essentially what's happened, because if you didn't introduce the team up collection, you would have to account for these power creeps in terms of making sure characters had the additional pierce damage, or the power creeps that the artifacts basically imbue, and making sure that those were innate to the kit. And now instead we get a lesser uniform that we're paying the same price for, and we're taking pieces of what the uniforms used to be and putting them in these other areas that we then have to pay more money for. So while you might be seeing the benefit of a 750 crystal uniform coming for Thor, or 875 crystal cost for coming for Thor, guess what? You're paying that difference in terms of the discount somewhere else, because you're paying it in terms of making sure that his artifact is there. You're paying it in terms of making sure that you're leveling up the team up, even if that's just time, you know, that you're investing into it. But I hate it. And this uniform, I hate to say this, I'm dying to see what it looks like after the update. Perfect example of what I hate about that whole thing. So next up, we've got AntiMan, who's got a phenomenally looking uniform and a phenomenally less than reason to even purchase it. Like I said, we're in the age of tier 4s, right? So we're coming along that age. How long has it been since AntiMan has been in the game and received a uniform? If you remember, AntiMan, Blue Marvel, and Sam Alexander Nova were basically released as packs that they basically tried to sell on the community. And since then, this dude has not had anything. He is still in the same damn uniform as a Shadowland Claire character. And now he's finally getting a tier 3 upgrade. And guess what? Who cares? Like, I'm not going to use him against Black Swan. So he better pack a serious punch. So no matter what you look at, the uniform is going to be an upgrade, because this uniform is that goddamn old. So like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So the uniform gets super armor, increase all basic defenses by 40%. He gets an immunity incapacitation effect, and he decreases basic damage received by 30%. So it's a nice kickoff there for him, but anything's going to be a nice kickoff because this uniform is that goddamn old. Like, I'm not kidding you. It is that old. Oh my God. Antimatter reactor. He basically had to increase all basic attacks by 45%. Now he's going to have the 60% increase all basic attacks, and he's going to have the 30% increase of HP as well. So that's really nice, and it applies to all allies. It's not like it's just supervillain allies, it's not superhero allies, it's just all allies. So that's a really nice so you're probably purchasing the uniform, if not for anything, just for that leadership. So let's take a look at what else he's got inside his kit that's going to change. This dude better have some significant changes. So we get his passive antimatter force field, and he gets the recovery effect here. Just goes up to 6% HP. I don't know why we do these, like barrier one time for 2 seconds. Like they really kept this shit the same. Basically kept this shit the same. Because I mean, having a recovery from 3% to 6% HP, I don't know. I get it that it's like when he's hit, right? But I don't get it. Okay, let me stop laughing. Anyways, antimatter absorption, energy absorption. He keeps the critical damage, and it's going to be 30%. The increased guaranteed critical rate is 30%, and he loses the immunity to cancel effect, because obviously, and then he gets the increased skill damage 35 and 30. So, you know, like I said, it's not a whole leap to basically improve this character, because the character started at a bad place in the first place. So antimatter barrier on this skill is now going to be called antimatter smash. He gets stunned for 2 seconds, incapacitation. He gets 100% chance to all damage immunity, which was already there. He gets to increase all basic attacks by 10%, 1% of pure damage received, and then accumulates pure damage of up to 10% of his max HP. And the energy damage basically gets a little bit of a nerf, more than likely, because who knows. And then we get 100 from 139, we go to 80, and an additional 194, we go to 137. So you have at that as you want to. His 2 skill had nothing on it. Still really has nothing on it. Silence, paralysis, energy damage. Nobody cares. Like, there's nothing on it. His 3rd skill, dimensional break. I mean, we just basically had a frenzy buff, and you can see how old the uniform was. The frenzy buff is literally 15, 15, and 10. You guys remember that when those were frenzy buffs? So now he gets incapacitation. He gets paralysis on the skill. He gets the frenzy buff. It's going to be 35, 1 and 35 crit rate. Yeah, 35. And then his energy damage is increased to 80% of energy attack and stays at the 219 energy attack. Like, yo, guys, fire whoever is the one assigning these skills, because this is just terrible. It makes the uniforms and everything, the SFX team, looks bad, because this is what we hone in on for the update, less the skills. And it just becomes apparent inside here, the kit, that the VFX don't matter when we feel like, you know, what you're selling us is just minor upgrades. Anyways, 4 skill anti-blast. We basically, this was a control type skill that you had, so you can manually control the continuous attack from. He lost out on that from what we could see inside the preview. So this one is called anti-blast, or it's now going to be called cosmic antimatter. He gets paralysis on this skill, 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, and then a frenzy buff of 30, 30, and 5 on that skill. The energy damage is at 85, and then we get additional 79 energy damage instead of 365. Antimatter Storm is now going to be called Antimatter Raid. We have the ignore targeting effect on here. He's going to remove the active buff from target. He has silence, fracture, paralysis, decrease all basic defenses up to 50%. He recovers 35% of his HP. He has the invincible and increase all basic attacks by 30%. And then we have the energy damage at 100%. So not a whole lot going on there for AntiMan. He does get his tier 3, however. And I'm going to show you this. On his tier 3, he has stun, silence, 80%. It's copy paste, guys. 100% chance to increase of charge rate of accumulate pure damage effect on that skill. So like, and look, guys, it was, when we got to see it, it was an okay looking tier 3 animation, but like nothing, you know, monumental. To be honest with you, it almost looks like Black Bolt's 3rd skill, I think, is that where he basically roars and has the ripple effects going out. So yeah, that's antimatter. Like I said, the problem is that we're moving towards the age of tier 4, so when you're looking at content, he's a tier 3. I can't use him in Black Swan. So I've got so many tier 4s that I don't see the purpose of using him inside World Battle. But, you know, maybe he has a place somewhere. I just don't see it. I see this as a Shadowland type character. That's basically it. He's Shadowland was before, Shadowland he is now. Look, guys, I'm not even gonna get into Fandral, Volstagg, and Hogun because I hate these transcendents without uniforms, or the uniforms without, you know, power-ups. I despise it. I'm happy that we're seeing something for these guys, but realistically, it's like the minimal that you can do. We'll probably not even see these guys touched in the near time or future, since they're not getting these upgrades now. It just, yeah, I don't know what to say about that, guys. I really don't know what to say about it. I'm just not interested. That's the best way that I can say it. I'm just totally not interested. So they have made some adjustments to the way additional pierce damage is going to basically work. So the balance for PvP content, it's been adjusted. The rate of additional pierce damage stat applied in PvP content has been adjusted. So it's going to affect Timeline, Alliance Conquest, Otherworld Battle. This is how they say it's going to basically be affected. So you can see it, before it was applied at a 100% rate inside of these areas, and now inside of the areas is going to be applied at a 50% rate, and then a 50% in Alliance Conquest, and a 70% rate inside Otherworld Battle. I don't necessarily understand this, to be perfectly honest with you. I really don't. To be honest with you, I don't even give a fuck. Like, let's be clear about something. I really don't care about PvP inside Marvel Future Fight. I don't know what the obsession is with players. Like, unless you're coming out of your wallet, and I will continue to say this, unless you're coming out of your wallet and you got triggers on your wallet and you're basically purchasing to these characters, you have no chance at PvP. None. Okay? Let's just be clear about that. And the worst part is, for all of these battles, it's just autoplay. It's autoplay at best. Like, there's very few people that are actually going in and physically manually playing Timeline Battle. Most people just set Timeline Battle and Otherworld Battle on auto and just let it play. Like, that's the truth of the matter. The number of debuff character selections for Otherworld Battle has been added. Before, there were 3 heroes selected based on the first round, and a maximum of 6 heroes are maintained. After, there are going to be 8 heroes are selected based on the first round, and a maximum of 16 heroes are going to be maintained. So, like, essentially what you're going to be seeing is, if you go to Otherworld Battle right now, and this is a game mode that you're interested in playing for whatever reason, then you're basically going to be looking at, like, your debuff characters inside here. So, for instance, like they said, the first round, 3 heroes were basically selected, and then they maintain a six hero list. So you can see the debuff characters here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think there's like one more debuff character. I think it's what's her name? Wasp. Yeah, Wasp is debuffed as well. So, like, you're gonna basically be looking at those characters as like debuff. I think you can just pull up the debuff or something like that in here. I can't remember how to do it, but either way, so that's the debuff. So now they're gonna basically be debuffing more characters. So you're gonna basically have to increase, or they give you reason by default to have to increase your roster and make sure that you have available characters on hand, because they're gonna be debuffing so many characters and having them unavailable basically for play. So just think about it that way. Timeline Battle, they've also are making an adjustment to. So basically at the start of the battle, like, you had a cooldown penalty for the attacker. So, like, basically, if you recall, like, what a lot of players were doing inside Timeline Battle is, hey, I'm going to set a team right inside Timeline Battle. The lead character is just there as like fluff, so that way I have the cooldown time basically on my backup character, basically, you know, get through. So that character just needs to last for the 8 seconds or so. So that way their skills are now in rotation and available for use. So they were given that little small penalty basically. And now that's been adjusted, right? So now it's adjusted. So the skill cooldown time is basically removed for the attacker and the defender after tagging a hero. And the invincible time for after tagging has also been reduced. So basically, you don't have to basically do that anymore, I suppose. So, I don't know. The attacker and the defender's HP and defense have been adjusted to have more influence than before. So I'm really intrigued to see how that works, because HP and defense just didn't matter inside timeline, inside PvP whatsoever. It was just like build into attack, build into attack. but we'll have to see what this attacker and defender HP and DP defense adjustment has been made. It'd be nice to see if like those things really did matter, because you just basically build into to attack and just smash through characters. They've also added the team up collection for the Avengers. So you basically now have the Avengers inside of the game as a team up collection, which means, you know, be ready to have your wallet up, because they've added a lot of characters into the Avengers. And this is Avengers Part 1. Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain Marvel, Wasp, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Vision, all included inside the Avengers. Like, they could have literally just did a Spider-Man in and of himself team up with just the Spidey folks, the Spidey gang. Like, could have just went that way as well. I'm not even sure why they did him as an Avenger inside here, realistically, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, especially in a Part 1. I mean, I get Captain America, I get Black Widow, I get Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Hulk, Thor. I even get Wasp and Iron Man. But like, why add Spider-Man into it? I just don't get that one. But you basically see those. They also made some Alliance battle improvements, so new rewards have been added. So the Guardians of the Galaxy is basically inside of the Alliance battle now, so that's good. I don't know what took so long for that to basically be added, but basically, if you went to Alliance battle inside here, you notice that as you play through, you know, the rewards inside here are what you're basically looking to get, the box buffs or whatever. And yeah, so basically those are the rewards that you were basically looking at getting inside here. And so the score achievement rewards, so they've been added now as collection tokens, basically for like your extreme battles and stuff like that. So those boxes that you would have gotten are there. So yeah, I guess that's not bad. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy, what this goes into the point of what I'm saying to you, you know, those tokens are basically now being sold to you, or even they've been given to you as like ways to say that we're giving you rewards for something that didn't need to exist in the first place. Piecemealing them out. So then we get the new artifacts basically added to the game. These are the new artifacts. Look, man, I don't give a hell about like any of the Volstagg Warriors 3 kind of what you call it, like ignore targets, dodge rate. Who cares? Increase all basic attack. You're not using these characters. Just because they got a potential transcendent, you're not using these characters at all. So whatever. We can see that Sentry is basically doing increased basic damage dealt to supervillain faction and increases the max HP by 20%. So that's a nice one for him for survivability inside PvP. And then we can see AntiMan has the supervillain faction increase artifact overall inside there. So those are the new artifacts. We also get a new season pass with some really cool looking we get some really cool looking what you call it for artifacts. Basically, you got the Sentry one inside of here. You get the Thor with the lightning summoning down. You get this is the Guardians one with the little game icon. It looks pretty funny and cool. I think that one's there, but this AntiMan one looks absolutely amazing to me. I dig that one a lot. We also get the new uniform collection with some tier 3 materials inside of there. So that's cool. I think players will be happy and sad about this, but I'm happy about it because the daily challenge reward has been increased. So that way you can get, instead of getting 15 energy, you now get 20 energy inside of there, which is good. So that's 100 energy a day basically coming from the 5 quests that you need to complete there. You're always running low on energy, and it didn't make sense that they still have ways to max you out on energy, because that stops you from playing the game and staying in and engaged. They also changed the weekly challenge rewards, so the clear tickets have been removed, and now you're getting 1 million gold and you're getting 2 million gold from the weekly challenges. I think what most people are really wanting to see is this go up right here, the weekly challenge for the 30 crystals. And I'm not in disagreement with them. I don't know why they still haven't increased this to keep with like some other games and things like that. But I would love to see maybe the weekly challenge change to like 50 or 60 crystals. But, you know, the UI for karmic cards has been improved. I don't know who the hell asked for that. But and then we got inventory slots can be expanded up to 1,200, effectively removing the need for shield support. I like right now it's limited to 10 to 1,000, but moving it up to 1,200 is just going to really help. And then surprisingly, the Dormammu's HP and giant boss rate has been decreased. I think maybe we're going to probably see another giant boss raid introduced sometime here in the future, because I don't know, like there's no reason for you to reduce Dormammu's HP. It's not like he's that hard of a boss right now. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this sorting rule. I don't know favorite, new, discount, recommended, unowned. No cares. And you can see here the balance of World Boss Conqueror levels have been improved as well. So should help you as long as you're playing the game, deal with that. So that's the update. Sorry the video was so long, but I wanted to make sure I gave you guys a thorough impression of what was going on. The update should be happening in the next 12 hours. Let me know, are you excited about it? I'm getting a little bored with the uniform optimizations and the kitting out of stuff to other places, so that way we have to spend more. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.